But now, how many times have you heard the Labour government say this?
We will remove people with no right to be here, and we will secure Britain's borders.
Well, here's something that they might have left out. Yes, how do you feel about paying for deported illegal migrants and foreign criminals to set up businesses overseas, having been deported? That's precisely what's happening, because the new Home Office-backed Dragon's Den-style business scheme for deported foreign sex offenders has today been slammed by British taxpayers. Last week, the Home Office published on its procurement page an appeal for NGOs and charities to apply for the scheme to help fund deportees to set up businesses, provide accommodation, and even give them some mental health therapy. That's right, the scheme could be expanded and set up and paid for by you in Morocco, in Sri Lanka, Algeria, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and even Somalia. This is all true. I'm joined now by the Research Director of the Centre for Migration Control, Rob Bates, as well as GB News' senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson. Rob, another cracking exclusive for you, and another one that had me headbutting the table. This can't be true.
No, this one made me really angry, especially in the light of the recent £500 bung to, of course, the Epping Bell sex predator, £500. I think if we're deporting any illegal immigrant, if we're deporting anyone that's come to our country and committed heinous crimes and then they have been eligible for deportation, I really think it is illegitimate and entirely inappropriate for the Home Office to be saying to them, don't worry, once you get there, we'll help you set up a business, we'll give you support you getting access to mental health support, training, vocational qualifications, accommodation temporarily as well. It strikes me that this is a real instance where the government is prepared to actually abandon its sort of moral compass and actually almost encourage and support the behaviour of some foreign national offenders who have done really, really bad things. And this isn't just individuals who have agreed to go to save the Home Office a lot of hassle. The reason why this scheme is so ridiculous is because they're extending it to individuals who have been deported. So they've been dragged kicking and screaming out of the country onto a plane, and then as soon as they get dropped off in their country of origin, they're going to turn around and go, oh, can I have the things now that you've sort of said in this scheme that I'm entitled to? It's a ridiculous state of affairs, and it's once again putting the British taxpayer last.
So, Rob Bates, let's just break this down step by step. Let's just say a foreign sex offender gets a £500 sweetener to go back, clear off back to their country. The flight's paid for. They've been living at British taxpayers' expense the entire time they've been in the United Kingdom. And then they land in Somalia or Algeria or wherever it may be, and they're offered tips, help, advice, paid for by the British taxpayer to help set up a small business in somewhere like Somalia, a land riddled with corruption, incompetence, and, benign forces towards the UK. What could possibly go wrong?
No, and I think if you look at exactly what this Labour government is doing to British businesses and people hoping to start a British business, absolutely walloping them, and will be doing more so in the upcoming budget. I think it's really, really unjust that they are giving handouts to people who have broken our trust, have been invited into our country, have turned around, spat in our face and committed really grave insults on the British public, committing sex crimes, really violent crimes, drug trafficking, the whole works. They would all be eligible under this. Of all individuals that were removed in the last 12 months, we'd see about a third of individuals being eligible to qualify for some form of support under this scheme. At the moment, it's only on a sort of expression of interest stage, so there's still hope that the Home Office will see sense, and I hope they really do so, because extending this to individuals who have been deported just really is a line too far.
Nigel Nelson, a dragon's den for dodgy deportees. Surely even you can't think this is a good idea.
Well, the whole point is a way of saving money. So if you can get people out of the country, we don't have to keep them in prison. If they're not in prison, we don't have to keep them in hotels. One other idea is to pay them £100 if they're living in a hotel to stay with friends or relatives. If that works, you save yourself over £1,000 because that's what the hotel costs. In this particular case, it's about £3,000 for each person. There are countries that we have to persuade to take back their foreign offenders. Some countries won't allow it unless the offender actually agrees to the deportation. So there's a whole host of different things operating here. If you can get them out of the country, make sure they stay out of the country, that is a bonus to the British taxpayer.
Yeah, but you can't get them out of the country and make them stay out of the country. They come back over the channel in dinghies. Rob Bates, I'll put it to you, there'd be many, many people watching this show, small business, entrepreneurs, who would love to get £3,000 from the government themselves to set up a business in Britain.
They'd be crying out for it. I think we need to recognise that this is actually also now being applicable to individuals who have been deported, which is a far more expensive process of removing an individual from the country. I believe there is a space for voluntary returns and of paying some individuals once their asylum claim is sort of getting clogged up in the system. I think that is a much cheaper option than deporting them.
Yeah.
But if we are to be giving, on top of the extraordinary costs of someone that has dragged their heels and really put the British taxpayer and the British legal system through the ringer, we're then going to turn around and give them actually this support on top of it. I think it's a step too far, in my opinion. I think many people would think that it is simply unjust that someone who hasn't accepted that they've done wrongdoing and has fought tooth and nail to actually remain in the country and therefore had to be deported rather than voluntarily returned.
Yeah, but the whole thing is that if it works, then that's great. One of the things that Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, is studying now is Denmark. Denmark's asylum claims are at a 40-year low. They pay $24,000 to get someone out of their country. So if you can do it for $3,000, we're doing it cheaply. But if these things work, if it saves money for the taxpayer, surely that must be a benefit.
Algeria, Morocco, Somalia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, these always factor as some of the world's most corrupt nations.
But that's not our problem, that bit.
It is, because if we're shoveling money into small business startups on foreign soil, this money could go anywhere.
What you're trying to do is make sure that particular, and these will be illegal migrants or foreign national offenders, what you're trying to do is to make sure they go back to their own country and can't come back to Britain. If you can do that for £3,000, that would be a bargain.
I think we should also stop playing hardball and start actually making those countries of origin stump up some of the costs for this. I think actually if we start putting sanctions on visas, on trade, on remittances, on just general sort of commerce, I think, and we can start making life more difficult for those countries of origin as well. I don't see why they shouldn't be able to get away with this without a bill.
You can do it with carrot and stick. That would be one way of doing it. Yes, certainly visa restrictions, but if we can do it with their agreement, much better that way, because the likelihood is any scheme could then grow.